Good evening, Professor and classmates. Today I will present my paper review with the title Developing a Reciprocal Teaching or Learning System for College Remedial Reading Instruction, written by Yu Fen Yang, Graduate School of Applied Foreign Language, National Yunlin University of Science and Technology. This paper review taken from Web of Science with the impact factor Q1 in 2018 from Computers and Education Journal. Introduction. Many students who register for undergraduate study are underprepared for university education. As Chen 2004 points out, underprepared college students in Taiwan are identified as underachievers whose intelligence is on average but who fail to achieve the basic skill necessary for success in highly demanding college courses. Particularly with the increase of college in the technological and vocational education system, TVES, more students have been able to go to college, leading to many colleges finding themselves admitting more underprepared students than before. It is reported that 71% of students in TVES do not have the required ability for college reading, since their reading proficiency is as low as the level expected of junior or senior high school students. When pressed to read, college students often select ineffective and inefficient strategies with little strategic intent. This is due to their low level of reading strategy knowledge and lack of comprehension monitoring engagement. Another factor may be their inexperience coming from the limited task demands of high school and the focus of traditional reading instruction being on the teacher's one-way lecture and his knowledge reproduction. As a result, some students do not engage in reading strategy or comprehension monitoring unless asked to think about the reading process through activities or instruction. Literature review. To enhance underprepared college students' reading comprehension, many studies advocate the employment of reading strategy in remedial instruction, such as activating their background knowledge, summarizing the text, and generating questions to capture the main idea of the passage. Among studies on the employment of multiple strategy in reading comprehension, reciprocal teaching has emerged as one of the important approaches. Reciprocal teaching is where the tutor and student take turns leading a dialogue centered on pertinent features of the text. Initially, the instructor demonstrates reading strategies to students. The instructor models the key strategies in reading a text. Students are then encouraged to choose and practice the strategies useful by themselves. The teacher essentially provides them with expert scaffolding. According to Pelinkar and Brown's study in 1984, reciprocal teaching could lead to a significant improvement in reading comprehension by engaging students in the four strategies of predicting, questioning, clarifying, and summarizing. As Pelinkar's 1986 points out, the strategy of prediction refers to student assumption of what will happen in reading. While students are making predictions, they must activate their background knowledge related to the topic. If a mismatch is found, students will need to revise their previous prediction. Through practicing the strategy of prediction, student ability to monitor their reading comprehension is increased. In the strategy of questioning, students are encouraged to generate questions with the focus on the main idea of the text and view their peers' perspective on the same issue. In questioning, some studies require students to master supporting information. Others require students to infer new information from the text. Owen's 1976 contends that questioning is one of the most effective approaches to enhance reading and understanding of a text. Palinka and Brown 1984 further state that by asking questions concerning the gist of a text, students are able to improve their comprehension in a subject area. Clarification is defined as clarifying any misunderstanding concerning the text. In the strategy of clarification, students are asked to clarify their own comprehension and to identify whether the text is difficult to comprehend. For example, new vocabulary, unclear reference words, and unfamiliar and perhaps difficult concepts. And also they have to take remedial action to discover the meaning of the text. For example, reread or ask for help. The purpose of clarification is to ensure students' comprehension in reading the text. The final strategy of reciprocal teaching in reading comprehension is summarization. Irwin 1991 states that summarization is a process which involves deleting unimportant information and identifying or constructing general or main idea statements that summarize many details. Duffy 2003 defines summarization as a strategy students use to create a brief retelling of an entire text. Summary construction is commonly considered a hard task for students since they do not know what information should be kept and what should be left out. In other words, reciprocal teaching provides students with explicit instruction, extensive modeling, and repeated practice of the four strategies. Background of this study. This study reports on the design of an online reciprocal teaching and learning system to support teachers and students in college remedial reading instruction. Student practice in using the multiple strategies of predicting, clarifying, questioning, and summarizing were supported by the four functionalities of dialogue box, discussion forum, chat room, and annotation tool in the system. By utilizing the four strategies, students were encouraged to exercise metacognition in monitoring and regulating their own reading. The research purpose of this paper was to design a reciprocal teaching and learning system to support teachers and students in college remedial reading instruction. And there are three research questions. First, how do underprepared college students develop their reading process in the reciprocal teaching system? Second, what are the problems and solutions that underprepared college students have in using the multiple strategy of reciprocal teaching in the system? 3. What is underprepared college students' progress in remedial instruction that incorporates the reciprocal teaching system? Method. Participants. 129 college students who learn English as a foreign language (EFL) voluntarily signed up to participate in a remedial reading instruction in a University of Science and Technology in central Taiwan. From different departments and colleges and have to meet the college requirement of passing a standardized test such as Test of English as International Communication or TOEIC. They were randomly assigned to one of 5 classes with class size between 20 and 30 students. Before the remedial reading instruction began, the participants took an online simulated version of the TOEIC test to identify their reading proficiency. The maximum score in reading on this version of the test is 250. The participants' mean score and standard deviation of the pretest was 82.77 and 31.84 respectively. Based on their main score, these 129 participants were identified as underprepared college students in reading. System development. The reciprocal teaching or learning system is a web-based system that includes a teacher interface and a student interface. We can see in figure 1, there is a student interface and then teacher interface. In student interface, there are predicting model through dialog box, clarifying model through chat room, questioning model through discussion forum, summarizing model through annotation tool, and teacher interface classroom management model, article management model, trace result. In the teacher interface, the teacher can manage class and post tests for students to read. He also views each student action in the system as the student read text by using the 4 strategies. Both the teacher and student are invited to join the discussion in the reciprocal teaching system. The discussion can happen in the student's native language, in this case being Chinese, because as Fung et al. 2003 suggests, ESL or EFL learners can use their native language to facilitate the development of reading and comprehension skill in their target language, in this case being English. The student interface. The ultimate goal of reciprocal teaching is to encourage students to use the strategy and become independent readers. Choose which strategies they would like to use when engaging with the reading in this system. In predicting, a dialog box listing a statement such as, "What will you read in the text?" "What would happen next?" "Why?" are presented to help students make their prediction. In clarifying, students could ask help in a chat room when encountering unknown words, sentence or concept. Instant message would be sent and received by the teacher and student. In questioning, students could generate questions in the discussion forum. In the discussion forum, questions for the main issue in a text are posted and replied by student or the teacher. In summarizing, students could take notes by using an annotation tool in the system. We can see in figure 2. The system will then automatically keep a record of the student highlighting of keyword, topic sentence, and other important sentence in my notebook. Based on the annotation in the notebook, students can then compose a summary. This is figure 2 about annotation tool in the system. The teacher interface. The teacher could monitor student reading process through the trace result in this system. We can see in figure 3. He will obtain a report presenting which article the student has read and which strategies the student has employed. This is figure 3 about trace result of students' action in the system. Procedure of data collection. In this study, the reciprocal teaching system lasted for 12 weeks, 4 hours per week, from September 29, 2008 to January 9, 2009. The 4 strategies were introduced during the first 4 weeks. Students learn how to predict, clarify, generate questions, and finally summarize the text. Other strategies necessary for composing a summary were also instructed, such as learning how to identify the topic and supporting sentence and how to paraphrase sentence. The 2 weeks thereafter, students learn how to use the reciprocal teaching system and practice the reading process with the 4 strategies. Students were randomly assigned user identification, for example, P1 until P129, in order to keep their anonymity in the online system. To ensure that each student understood the introduction, a list of guidelines and examples was developed and posted for students to follow. Students were encouraged to practice their reading strategy in the reciprocal teaching system 4 until 6 hours per week in and after class. Along with the remedial reading instruction, the data collected in the study included students' pre- and post-test, students' action detail recorded in the test result, and an open-ended questionnaire. Procedure of data analysis. Data in terms of the pre- and post-test, student action detailed in the test result, and the open-ended questionnaire conducted in this study were analyzed. First, a t-test was computed to examine students' progress in the pre- and post-test. Second, student employment of the 4 strategies was recorded as the test result in the system. The test result could reveal what difficulties students encountered and how they overcome them. Finally, the open-ended questionnaire was analyzed by means of content analysis. Content analysis helped the researcher discover and describe the focus of individual, group, institutional, or social attention and allowed the researcher to make inference. 4 steps of content analysis were conducted in the study are coding, categorization, description, and interpretation. First, coded meaningful statement from participants with highlights while reading their statements. We call coding. Next, the meaningful statements were assigned into categories with the identity of participant. It is categorization. Then, the researcher and the research assistant describe the statement by presenting and summarizing the main ideas. It is description. Finally, the researcher interpreted the main idea by offering explanation, drawing conclusion, and making inferences. It is interpretation. Result. The results of the study are shown in 3 ways. First, a student P78 with a pseudonym John is randomly selected to represent students' reading process in the reciprocal teaching system. Second, students' practice in using the multiple strategies is shown to illustrate how they overcome the difficulties in reading text. And third, students' progress in the remedial instruction incorporating the reciprocal teaching system is also shown to examine the effectiveness of the reciprocal teaching system. These data are to understand students' self-monitoring and self-regulation in reading comprehension. John's reading process in the reciprocal teaching system. As an example, John's usage of the 4 strategy recorded in the test result of how he comprehended the text. John first read the title text, "The Hummingbirds That Unexpectedly Changed My Career." We can see in the appendix, and then made a prediction. It might be about something happening at and it changed his career and his life. We can see in table 1. After he read the first paragraph, he disapproved his previous prediction by stating, "Incorrect. There was nothing happening. It was just about his interest in his leisure time. He was interested in taking pictures." In the strategy of prediction, John used the chat room to clarify his unknown words and mark a main idea in the text with the annotation tool. He also joined the discussion forum to generate questions to view his peers' perspective. John used the annotation tool, chat room, and discussion forum to monitor his own reading process in confirming or disapproving his previous prediction. This is table 1 about John's prediction record in reciprocal teaching system. In this table, there is a prediction, strategies undertaken in the reading process, and confirmation or withdrawal of John's previous prediction. For the strategy of clarifying, John used the chat room. We can see in table 2. He answered a peer's question in clarifying the word invite. He then not only asked his teachers, "What does "fell in place" mean?" but also clarified the unknown word hummingbirds. That is, John not only received support, but also helped his peers by clarifying his comprehension question. We can see table 2 about John's clarification in the chat room. In the chat room, there is a participant and also conversation among John, his peers, and the teachers. In annotation, John marked the topic sentence in each paragraph. We can see in table 3. Table 3 about John annotation and summary in the system. In table 3, there is paragraph topic sentence mark, first draft of summary, peer's suggestion, and then final draft of summary. For the strategy of questioning, John generated one question. In what kinds of circumstance he decided to give up his original work? For their peers to discuss, we can see in table 4. Two peers stated their perspective toward John's question. Finally, John's own annotation served as hints when he wrote his summary. In first draft in his summary, he just copied the topic sentence from his previous annotation. After his peers provided a suggestion by stating, "The subject is confusing for readers when you use I indicating the author and you indicating the author's friends." He reviewed his annotation and revised the first draft into a shorter and a better summary. From the reading process recorded in the test result, John's improvement in reading comprehension was made by practicing the reading strategies. And this is table 4 about John's questioning in discussion forum. There are participants and then also issued. Students' employment of the multiple strategies. In addition to the test result in the reciprocal teaching system, an open-ended questionnaire was also conducted to investigate students' perception toward their difficulties in the employment of the 4 strategies and how they overcome these difficulties. We can see in table 5. By understanding students' problem and the solution they generate when practicing the multiple strategies for reading comprehension, the teacher would be able to know when and how to provide students with appropriate scaffoldings. In making predictions, most of them overcome their difficulties by discussing their problems with peers or the teachers. For the strategy of clarification, generally, They would ask the teacher or their peers to clarify the meaning of words or sentence. One of the obstacles students encountered while using the questioning strategy was the writing impediment. If students could not think of any discussion questions by themselves, most of them would hold a discussion with their peers to resolve this difficulty. Students also needed to identify the main idea in the text in order to compose a summary. When they were unable to do so, they sought help from their teacher and peers. From student perception toward the problem and solution in using the multiple strategies, it was noticed that student solutions toward their problem were limited, so that the teacher intervention was important. Students improved their reading comprehension by observing and learning from the demonstration of peers and the teacher. In this circumstance, the teacher could also provide more alternative strategies for students to solve their reading problems. This is Table 5 about participant perception toward the problem and solution of using the reading strategies. There is strategy of predicting, clarifying, questioning, summarizing, and some statement, and also frequency. Students progress in remedial instruction incorporating the reciprocal teaching system. Student perception toward their progress are shown in Table 6. Some students thought that the annotation tool enhanced their comprehension when they composed their summary. Some students thought the discussion forum facilitated their reading comprehension since they could view their peers' different perspectives on the same issue. Similarly, the chat room also enhanced their reading because they could get immediate feedback or answer. This is Table 6 about student perception toward their progress. There is a scaffolding, statement, and also frequency. Students reported that they were able to better understand the main idea in a text after remedial reading instruction with the reciprocal teaching system. They recognized the effectiveness of using multiple strategies in reading and conclude that they could read more fluently after the instruction. As the end of the remedial reading instruction, a post-test, a simulated TOEIC test, was conducted to evaluate participants' reading proficiency. A pair sample t-test used to identify participants' progress showed there was a significant difference between the pre-test and post-test, indicating that participants improved their reading comprehension after the remedial reading instruction that incorporated the reciprocal teaching system. However, students also expressed suggestions for the reciprocal teaching system. A. The practice of monotonous strategies in the system can cause them to lose their interest after they are familiar with the usage of strategies. B. They also noticed that the usage of the same strategies over time was inappropriate since each text gender may require them to use different strategies. Discussion. From the result of this study, some findings are explored. First, different from the previous studies. The result of this study showed that individual students' reading comprehension was enhanced by remedial instruction incorporating different functionalities of the reciprocal teaching system. That is, underprepared college students had different perception in using strategies with the functionality to meet their individual needs. Some students believe that annotation was the most useful tool when they summarized the text since it recorded the main idea and keywords they highlighted during reading. Some students perceive the discussion forum as an effective tool to view peers' different perspectives on the same issue. Some students favor the online chat room because they could clarify their comprehension and receive feedback from peers immediately. It is seen in this study that individual students' comprehension is scaffolded by various means. The online reciprocal teaching system allows students to elect which way they would like to get help, and the effectiveness of the strategy used in reciprocal teaching depends on student different reading goals and needs. Second, previous studies hardly address students' reading process in identifying and solving their own reading problems. Process data are rarely found to indicate how students confirm or disapprove their prior prediction, how they select and reselect keywords and topic sentence, how they use what they have understood in annotation to draft and revise a summary. As a result, the teacher has few clues to provide appropriate scaffoldings. Similarly, the students have no opportunity to monitor and regulate their own reading process. Third, after the identification of reading problems and solution, students could monitor and regulate their own reading in the remedial instruction, incorporating the reciprocal teaching system. Some students identify the strategy of questioning as a chance to re-monitor their comprehension and also recognize the needs to fully clarify their comprehension of a text before they proceed to generate questions for discussion. On the other hand, in the discussion forum, students look back at the passage, found out the information that the question referred to, and then reflect on how the information fit in the text. Moreover, some students use the annotation tool to solve their reading problem since they could review what they had understood and integrate into their newly acquired information. In taking notes while reading, students could also pinpoint the important concept in a text. The result of this study also point out the importance of the teacher's role in demonstration. The teacher's leading role can fade out as some students become skillful and independent in guiding and demonstrating strategy to their peers. In addition, the teacher should encourage students to practice their multiple strategies in different contexts to solve their reading problems. For example, students may use strategies in reading and acquiring domain knowledge in the subject of physics, accounting, or history. Some limitations are also found in this study. First, student annotation on keywords, topic sentence, and important sentence should be automatically and statistically analyzed by the system. Second, tools provided in the online system may not be sufficient to facilitate or scaffold students' reading comprehension to their full potential. Finally, an open-ended questionnaire should be conducted on the teachers to understand their needs and their perception concerning the impact of reciprocal teaching system on their students' reading comprehension. The last slide is about the appendix, about the story of the hummingbirds that unexpectedly changed my career. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much.